work on today is motion. Motion of this, motion of all of this in coordination, so that you're not just standing there throwing flat snaps and you're throwing leg shots and you're throwing offside and you're throwing the occasional wraparound. Because the thing that happens obviously in combat, and I'm using right-left again because this is probably the most foreign thing too. Once you've got left-handers, you fight all the time. But for him, this is the most common. For him, the most uncommon is fighting another left. So it's one of those things where every time we move, wherever we're going, right, he's here, and now I'm going to try and use his shield against him. But I had to do it in a motion of my weapon and my body, right? Wherever he puts that, I can find a hole to it. The other deal is it's coming at me, isn't it? So what we're going to do, though, how many of you recognize that for the most part you never throw blows in motion? You know, most of your blows, you're set and you shoot. Mostly, right? I know you won't raise your hand because I know you won't. But an Octus throws on the move, and a lot of times, if you watch the films of His Grace and Octa, they're both right and left. When you watch them, what they're trying to do is they're moving, trying to get you to do something. Right? Octa's sitting up here and he's waiting. You know, he's looking for something, and he'll move this and he'll move stuff. And when you go to figure out what he's doing, it's like, okay, now I'm going to do this. And if you lean forward slightly, it's like a magnet to his sword. Yeah, he finds that slot right there and goes right to it. And you can watch it on the film as to how many times he kills people right in that slot. Right? And all he's done is these little body moves. Conversely, though, you usually find some fighters that you just can't flat out beat. Right? So you actually have to get in there and you actually have to be wrestling with this person. Right? So if you're standing here and you're suddenly just always trying to do this or always trying to do that, how are you going to get to him? You're so closely matched in styles that it's just not functioning. Right? So if we can do something here and switch, right, on a body motion to make him see what he thinks is happening. Just like yesterday we were talking about, where's that blow going? You don't know. Because with a body movement, it can be up here, right? And then I want him to swing at this entire open side so I can go here. But it's trained into body motion in conjunction with sword movement. Because the sword likes to move. I mean, just go ahead, swing it around, right? Put it on your shoulder, let it fall off, and you're going to wrap the guy right in the back of the leg, and you don't even have to try. It just happens. Physics is our friend, right? Now, when we use the term wraparound, you really need to express to beginners, especially, that it isn't really this, all right? When we're throwing headshots, we can throw them from behind us and hit the guy in the back of the head. I don't have to literally wrap around him to do it. So when we're looking at that, can I do this on the move? Well, of course I can. And what can I do after that? Well, if you start going into the endless dance, wherever he goes, I'm going to come at him. But it's with a body movement. I'm not standing here doing this. And I'm not standing in stance and doing nothing but... And why? What did we go over yesterday almost all day that was written on that whiteboard? 5 on 5. This is the part where I was trying to explain to you yesterday, where I'm constantly changing your 5 on 5. Intentionally. Because if you don't adjust to it, hello, it's hand on you. Okay. So, now with Thorin, okay, we're both right-handed, but the idea is still the same. If I want his shield to move, I want to do something to make him move it. I don't want to throw here, right? And yet, how many of you watched yesterday in the fighting where people were actually literally hitting each other like this? Why? What are those for? Especially when they're standing right in front of His Grace or whoever and they're just doing nothing but that. What's that all about? And then they don't move, right? And you ask them, it's like, why did that blow go in the center of their shield? More times than not, they'll say, don't, I aimed at his head. Because their perception of this is that this is going into his head as long as the shield's not there. Now that's what's so funny, is they know for a fact his shield is in the way, but it's kind of like, I can see his head, so therefore it's a headshot. I can see his head, therefore it's a headshot.
I think a lot of people don't think about the angles of the shield
Exactly.
as tools to throw the blows. So if I'm standing like this, you can see my head
Right.
without thinking about the
There's-
angles that you have to work with.
and
I
there's
think
so-
that's what a lot of people find.
I agree with that. And a lot of it is, too, yesterday I mentioned how many of you fight 3D. Okay? How many of you actually see the back of his grace when you see the front of him, so that you know to do something like this followed by something like that? Right? Applying pressure with the shield. Now, will he stand there? Maybe not. But the deal is if you stand here all the time, I'm pretty sure that his grace has already proven to you that you're going to die. All right? And again, we go back to, because of this class being about motion, where's his grace's kill box? Okay? So by motion, I can go in and out of that box, but the idea is I'm not going to stay there. Right? Why would you literally just want to stay here and duke it out with him? No pun intended. It was good, but that wasn't intentional. Right? And it's like, I don't really want to. Right? So, if you're going to learn to do things on the move, once again, I'm out at sea range, but I can still do things. I can still reach, right? Forward backs up to receive. I step with the other foot and pursue. But a lot of guys do what? They throw one shot and the fight stops. One shot, fight stops. And if their opponent moves, they won't even throw the shot. You know? And all of a sudden, if you watch advanced fighters, they'll use that against you. Right? They'll let you wander in, right? And they'll let you come to, oh, don't even do the trap. Right? You're going to wander in like this thinking, I'm okay, because Sagan said the box was over here. I'm not going into the box, I'm going to go over here. And it's like, all he has to do is shift his foot 6 inches, and you're standing right in the box. And then worse yet, he backs up when you're ready, and you freeze, and you relax. And then all of a sudden, here he comes.
You forget that the box is moved.
Exactly. It's like, well, and the other on-off switch for fighters is the fact that when his grace moved backwards, he's not ready to fight, so you relax. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, look at that twitch in that sword arm. And all of a sudden, you know, so when you're fighting is the ultimate goal. And you want to use body motion and sword movement to get the job done. Because you can't, why would you really want to stand there all day long and do nothing but, you know, just bang, right? So if I'm going to work with Octane, I'm going to move this way, and I'm going to come in here, right? If I pin this and grab it, right? Now where? But I have to move. See? You need to move. It's like trying to kill somebody by telling yourself, I only need this shot, and a body shot. Well, that's nice, but don't they? They're going to move the shield. Okay. Now then, so we start doing snaps, and when that doesn't work because he's going to move his shield, we do a snap wrap, right? And a snap wrap is nothing but rolling the wrist at the last second, and so then you can place it where you want. Okay, and then you start combining that over here, and you do fades, where your body motion is like taking it into his face. And again, because we made it look like it was going there, and now we're sliding it back and catching right in the face. Conversely, it's on a right-handed person, it's one of those deals where you swoop here and you cut across. Right? And again, you want him to come here because all of a sudden, boom! But you train into those body motions.
Did everybody see that the sword never changed trajectory? The body just
pivot point for this. Okay? For this whole thing, I can stand here and I can go to all the different places I want to go, including thrusting. Because thrusting allows me to come forward, it allows me to go back, come again. Where if you're standing there and all you know to do to somebody to thrust at them is this, right? How tough is it? And not only that, attack, okay? No, wait a second. Attack on the thrust, right? So he sees you thrusting and all of a sudden it's just that easy. Because he's doing the body movement. One of the most dangerous things about thrusting is all of a sudden your sword and your shield are together, aren't they? So if he gets his tip on it and attacks like he did a second ago, what are you going to do? You going to get your shield in the way? Maybe. Maybe. All right. Now the other thing is, we've gone over a bunch of offensive things at this point about moving. The other deal is, though, is that if I do that thrust and he comes to me, defensively I'm now here. Just with the body motion. He's swinging and it's like, okay. And now with a body movement. So it's one of those deals where this just becomes a lovely little accessory. It pretty much goes anywhere you want it to. Now this is really common to the three of us because we're used to doing it. Right? It's normal. Trying to learn it's a little bit tricky. Okay, because you like to attack. It's like, okay, well if all of you is this way, and we're just gonna, it's like, okay. But if you just change that a little bit to where in B range you make it look like this, and I'm coming for you, right? Then that's fine, because you still did your, March to Rome kind of deal, but it's like, well, all of a sudden there was this. Because right now you just tend to go like this, and then you're shooting. But it's still in a very straight line. Right, right. Point A to point B is usually one of the worst things you can do. Why? Because 90 to 99% of everybody's targets is point A to point B. And it's almost like it's agreed upon somehow. This is the way we fight. Whack, whack, whack. Yeah. Whack, whack. Ooh, you got me. Right? But it doesn't have to be that way. You can stand there. A lot of times, standing there and in a practice and allowing someone to attack you, I call it the 3-foot drill, in that I'll give you a 3-foot circle and you can't leave it. You're going to have to defend and attack from there to prove to yourself that you can do it. Right? And then there's no straight in. You can't go straight in and shoot. You have to attack on one of the crescents, right? On the horns of the bull. You're either going to attack to this horn or this horn, but you can't just walk up and shoot. And when we look at it, when we actually look at a circle and we start bisecting, it's not just straightforward, it's not just linear. There's all kinds of diagonals as well that come off of it, which means that when I'm here, there's a diagonal here, there's a diagonal there, there's a diagonal here, there's a diagonal here. So depending upon what I want to do with the weapon, so I'm standing here and I throw to this diagonal and I suddenly go here. Okay, so with a body movement, I made this headshot into a face blow. Does it make sense? Right? Yeah. Yeah, but looks like there's a button there.
Well, it just takes me a while to soak things in.
Okay. So conversely, it's the same sort of thing on a right-hander, that if I'm going to throw here and I take this diagonal here, then what I'm doing is I'm using His Grace's defense against it. Okay? So you're changing the sword angle to a point where it's coming in through a different vector. It's not coming through here anymore. I've actually changed it to where it's going there. And now we're back to where we started. So we do a body movement and we continue to combat, because if the shot's no good, if I don't get him in the face with enough power, right? If I miss, for instance, and I get him on the brow, now it's a head shot, not a face shot. So there's those kind of things you actually have to keep in mind. Did I hit him in the face? Or did I hit him in the helmet? It's like, does it matter to you? If the opponent falls over or acknowledges good, it shouldn't really matter. The fight continues until he does. Right? So that's why we're talking about walking up here and doing nothing but walking straight in and trying to hit somebody in a straight line. Pretty much you should be able to prove to yourself in like 30 seconds that that's not going to work. Now if you're quicker than they are or whatever, or you know, like again, if you're willing to walk into his graces, kill box, he's going to kill you. So there's no problem there. That's why when you try and start moving around, so everybody get on guard. The first one we're going to try is fairly obvious, and everybody's seen it. We're going to do snap, okay, and then we're going to go offside with no step, right? Snap, offside. Now you can raise the angle of the snap if you want to, but the idea is what you see, right? How simple is that to block? Right? Everybody sees this. Everybody's accustomed to this. Right? Because there's no trick to it. Once again, it's walking up to somebody and doing nothing but this, followed by that. Okay? So, with absolutely no body movement, how successful is that probably going to be? Right? It's not, is it? And yet we see it happen all the time. And then everybody's trying to figure out how to kill one another. Okay? So, if we go to throw the snap, however, and we throw the snap and halfway through we take this foot and come to him, and on the next one, cut him, we've done a complete body movement. All of a sudden it's like, whoa, that's a lot of movement. And it is. And it has to be timed. You need to set it up. Right? And then all of a sudden in the middle of that, his grace takes off. Or worse yet, comes right at you. And these are all the things that when we're starting to doing body movements, it's like, where's my center of balance? Can I actually take an attack? Because a lot of people, you've seen them too, where they do this part and then all of a sudden they'll do this. You know, I mean, they're reaching, trying to get there. They know that it's obvious. They know that's really obvious, that that's open. So instead of taking a step or anything, they're just like trying to reach him. Like somehow, and we even saw that on the tape where these guys are reaching for one another. It's like, okay. So when we're doing sword movements, it's like, what can I do? And these are the object lessons when you don't even need a pal to do this. And it's like, okay, what can I reach in B range? Okay. I can reach all these. And you prove to yourself with your opponent that you can reach those just standing still. So it's fairly obvious because, again, 90 to 95% of the time, this is what's happening. Right? The falsity to it, or the falsehood of it, is the fact that with a very slight movement, yeah, all of a sudden, all of these are blocked. They're not easy to get to. Okay? So, we've given ourselves an object lesson that we can reach all these, and that's great. But when they're in their defensive stance, can we really get to them? So then you take the object lesson, okay, I'm going to go on my right diagonal. Full step, half step, quarter step. And it's like, now what can I reach? Okay. And then, the more advanced lesson is if I go here, now, if I'm going to move this foot again, then where am I going to go? I can go to the diagonal. I could cut across, but this puts me in a pretty bad spot. So then it's like, okay, the next body movement is, I've got my shield ready, and it's like, now where can I go? Because again, if this is an endless sort of dance, we need to work around the bell, we need to work around our opponent, throwing blows that are not, again, into his shield, but blows that make him move. He's got to move something, right? So, how tough is that really? All right, well, let's find out. Here we go. Everybody on guard. What we're going to do is, as we throw the snap, we're going to come off to the right diagonal. So we've thrown the snap at their helmet. Now from here, what feels like the next best shot, knowing that their shield has blocked this, and we're now beside them? We're beside their shield. What feels best? The offside. All right. Okay, so now, go ahead and extend your weapon. Now, since we've got this diagonal, how are you going to go offside? Okay, where's it going to go? You're gonna move it from here to there. Same line as this one. Okay. So you're going from here, and now we're going to skate to here and come over. And what are you going to do with your shield when you do that? This is the part where things
Oh, look at danger.
yeah, there, yeah, pull it back. I'm going to pull it out of my way. Because, it's like, okay, here it is. Now you're going to go on the other diagonal, and you're going to go offside. Go ahead and mirror me. Right?
Yeah.
Now, we're here. Now where? That's okay. Now where? You got, hey, you're not doing it, buddy.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Okay, so now you're here. Where's the next best place to go, do you think? Really? And with what foot?
I take 2 steps.
You do?
I step.
Okay.
That gives me
Right.
time to pick the head of the leg.
Right. Because it's one of those things that, again, where is his shield? Where is he? What's it doing? Because from here we've got things like, if we're actually touching, we come to this diagonal and we do a fade, right? And then we go right back. And that's the thing that you need to really understand about this, is left, right, back, forward, diagonal, whatever. It needs to stay in motion. So does this. So that's why when I'm asking you, okay, if the sword is sitting here, right, we've done this, it's like, where is the next, where can it go? Now maybe I should ask the question, where can it go the quickest? Just take your time. Get in this position, number one. Number two, where can it get to the quickest?
Offside.
For me, it would be offside.
For you, it would be offside head? Okay.
Yeah.
That's
Righties?
how my mechanics are.
Onside leg.
2 drop to the leg.
Onside leg.
Yes, I can't throw that one fast.
Okay. And listen to all the answers. Right? Because for you, that's the answer. Right? Trick is okay, so you've got your weapon extended here. How do you put the power in it on the next blow?
Your body.
With your body, exactly. So all of a sudden, the body positions are really dictating where can the weapon go next. All right. Now then, the simplest way to reload any weapon, in most cases, is step under it. Right? And now it's loaded and it's ready. Exactly. It's ready to go again. Right? And then when it goes, okay. So now it's like I'm here. Where can I go now? To there and back. Right? And what we're trying to express here is the flow. Where can my body go? Where can the weapon go at that same moment? Right? Because just as easy as it is to do this and this, right? It's also just as easy to do this and this. Sorry, Mark. Okay? Because again, it's a body flow. Because this part of my body. A lot of people tend to think that, well, fighting motion is in the legs. No, I don't agree with that. I agree that it's in all of this, right? That I can block here and go offside, right? That I can actually step here and go offside. because I practice. But if all we do is, if we don't train into this, a lot of these body movements with a sword, just simple drills like that, proving to yourself, where is this going to go? Doing the helicopters, doing the figure eights, doing the butterflies. Where can it go? Well, the simple answer is, wherever it is, when it crosses a target, is where it can go. So when I cross here, how many targets are there really? Right? When I'm crossing up here. Conversely, if I'm going to do a reverse wrap, right? Now I've got a problem in that my body has to come forward and pull back this way. Boom, and keep going. A lot of people, unfortunately, when they try a reverse wrap, which if you haven't practiced into it, don't try it, will just throw it, right? Which is tugging on everything. You've got nothing to help you. You're just throwing it back there. Okay. Once again, with body motion, you want that in your center as things are moving, that the weight shifts occur. Right? And when I'm talking about going backwards, going backwards in a skilled position,
Torquing your wrist around the other way.
right, to come again or to attack again, that's one thing. Backing up just to get out of the way, what's that for? Absolutely disengagement. Right? And if you do it against His Grace or somebody else, maybe the first time you do it, they'll go, okay. They'll set it up again, and then all of a sudden they're not standing there watching you and waving, they're following you and you're getting poked somewhere or chilling. So, what I want you to do is stand flat-footed, okay, and take the weapon and just come down the sword side of your body, right? And now do the butterfly without moving your hips, right? Flow it in, figure eight, yeah. It's like, right, it's like, how kludgy does this feel though? Because when you, a lot of you, when you watch you on film, the first shot you throw is from here, everything else is from here. Once again, because of the tie-up. You get close enough, and all of a sudden your feet are like this. So now everything is collapsed in. The shield comes in, the swords come in. Now go ahead and set your set your sword foot back. Okay? And how many of you, do all of you use your hips to fire throw blows? Theoretically. Okay, so now all of a sudden, what I want you to do is start just doing a sky wrap, right? Just get it up there. It's like, okay, I can do this real easy now. And now all of a sudden I feel like I can move my foot. And I can go backwards, and I can go forwards, and I can do all this stuff in motion, and I can just move. I feel freer. The other part is when you start to shoot, it feels good. But it also, your center of balance, and you've got this point where everything pivots real well. And I can power generation here, can generate a really strong punch block if I want to, and I can attack from here, my feet are free to move. And then you ask yourself, when I fight, which one am I doing? And again, this is all part of the training idea. What am I doing? When I look at myself on video, and I'm fighting His Grace, or I'm fighting the left, what am I doing? Do I fight His Grace just fine? I mean, I lose or I win, but I am moving around and I'm doing different things. But when I fight the left-hander, I look like I'm fighting somebody right-handed. Right? In that you're walking up to him like this. Yeah, you're walking up to him like he's right-handed. You're attacking him the exact same way you would attack His Grace. And then all of a sudden you have to ask yourself, am I ending up like this? And how much during the fight, since I know my opponent, if my opponent's mobile, he's got an area this big he's willing to fight in that overlaps me because he'll move. How much area do I really fight in? And how much Because again, that 5-on-5 thing is meant to be more like, you know, it's a push me, pull you to get to what you want. It's not a stand still kind of game. Because the closer you get, your range is such that your blows change. Because throwing a flat snap from here is basically impossible. Because by the time you extend your arm, you're going to hit him with a basket hilt. Okay? And how many of you are that aware in your fighting? Or are you just trying to apply the stick to the target? Okay. Those are the questions you pretty much have to answer for yourself. So that's the other thing about being mobile. You have to pay attention to, what can I reach from here? Okay, I can face shot him. I can reach him with a thrust. I can reach that leg, which means I can reach this one. Okay, and so for that one movement, I understand that these targets are available. What can I reach around his back? Nothing. Not really. Okay. So you realize when you start to go to this diagonal on a half step, not a full step, you have to take into account which blows do I have on how much of my stick. Because a lot of people will only hit down here. So when you start trying to get used to doing passes where you're going to use that last 3 inches of the blade, and you intend on hitting Octa or whoever in the helmet, there has to be enough power in it that you make sure it impacts. Because that's the other thing about body movement. If you do things late, right, or you do them early, okay, it's like, okay, so things aren't coordinated enough because I meant to reach for his head. But what I did was I actually threw the stick first and then stepped in. So when you're training, that's the other thing. Video cameras don't lie. Next best thing is mirrors. Because they're actually going to give you more information about what you're doing. The other problem is a lot of people, when they first start doing body movements, they will lean. So all of a sudden, this nice center that we were talking about before isn't there anymore. So be very aware. Did I just throw this shot, or did I just throw this shot? And notice the difference of where my foot was. Because again, you're telling yourself, I'm going off to that diagonal. So when you throw it, if it ends here, then that's really good. If it ends up over here, and you were on that last 3 or 4 inches of the blade to hit him in the helmet, there's an issue. Fair enough? So the training aspect is there. We understand all that. Okay, so now let's go to some more practical ideas of how does body movement work, sword blow and return. Okay. So from here, how many different returns are there? Keep going. Keep going, right? Yeah, exactly. Because again, some of the quickest returns are nothing but a body movement. And this is a return. Look what my hips are. Where is that going next? It's obvious, right? So there's one return. So now if I go from here and I take my, again, I'm going to load the blade quick by stepping up and under. There's another return. The obvious teardrop to whichever portion of the body you want to go to. There's another one. The short teardrop, which is involved with a body movement. There's the other one. So all of a sudden you're starting to look and it's like, how many returns are there to this really? You know, and it's like, oh geez, where am I going to move my body? And that's how obvious this becomes when you pay attention to it. And it's based on your style, based on your ability, based on how fast you are, based on your observation skills, is how many returns there really are. So now then you've seen them. Now then, object lessons, can I do them? Okay, now then that's training. So now if I'm going to move from there to practice, okay, now I need to get on the pedal and practice it against, it's like, no, I lean on that one. And doggone it, that right diagonal is more turning out to a right lateral diagonal, you know? And it's like, okay, but I do want to do it against an opponent now. So you get somebody experienced. Don't go grab your buddy who's a beginner. Go to the more experienced person and say, Your Grace, would you involve me in a practice training session where I would like to practice this? more than likely he's going to say sure. Yeah, and all of a sudden it's going to be one of those deals though where he's going to tell you, at first I'm going to let you complete the movement, but ultimately we're headed to combat. And what he's going to do is the first time you say, okay, well, I'm going to practice my overhead return, and you do this, he's going to go, well, that's great. You accomplished that just fine. So the second, you've been at it for 10 minutes now, and he goes, okay, I'm now going to start moving and fighting this. So you have to be aware that once you do this and you step forward, he's going to be right here. Okay? Then the next one, he'll do something else, and you're going to load up, and you're going to be right there. The trick is that no matter what he does, the object lesson, even when you were training on the Pell, is if he does this, what's next? Right? If he comes forward, okay, now what am I going to do? Right. But where? And that's the part you get to play, because you're not, when you really start doing this in fighting and it steps up, right? You're going to try different things, and you're going to go after them, and you're going to see all of these wonderful positions that you can get into, and he's going to attack, and he's going to evade. But what's happening on the other side? Body movement. That's why you don't get your beginning buddy, somebody who's trash, or somebody who's equal to you. You don't go get them, because they're not the ones that can give you the lesson of what you're learning and attempting. Okay? That's the reason for it. A lot of times, if you go and prove it against your fighter buddy, that's just great. Roll it out in practice against your fighter buddy, that's just great. And then you come up here, right? You roll it out, and it just flat doesn't work, period. And if you don't turn it into a training session asking His Grace, why are you doing that? Right? Well, then you bet the idea that it can't work. It doesn't work. Okay, enough said about that. But that's true in anything. No matter what you're training or practicing, if you go to do it against the top 2%, sometime, okay, then you actually get the knowledge from that level of fighter all the way back to the beginner at home. You get to discern how well those work. You get to learn things like, okay, so if I change that direction, or, by the way, who's the fastest guy in the kingdom? Is this Sven? Is he the quickest?
It's pretty fast.
Is he really that quick? Okay, so you have to, obviously, if you're a competitor, once again, we're going to go, I know I keep mentioning this, if you're the competitor, rather than the person that comes out every odd Sunday, you really want to know how well this is going to work against the fastest person in the kingdom, because there's certain things, once again, you're not going to walk up into Sven's kill box, right? And movement-wise, he's pretty quick too, isn't he? So you have to be aware out here, okay, at least based on that picture on her refrigerator, you have to be aware out here that not only is this guy really quick with a sword, he's really quick with a body movement. So you're really not going to walk up to dare this person to hit you for two reasons. And those are the two reasons. Really quick with a sword, he's really quick with a body movement, right? Now some people like that, you may want to draw them to you, but you want to draw them off at this diagonal, right? And if they start moving towards you, then you start, yeah, it's like, here he comes, right? And I got exactly what I wanted. Why? Because I'm in line with him, and now I'm going to get offline with him, okay? And now I'm going to press the attack into his center, because you brought him to you. If you allow that individual who's that quick to attack while you're moving right straight at him, okay, how many movements is he going to do? You have no idea. You don't know whether his intent on his first movement is to kill you or just make you do this with your shield. Because somebody who's mobile and their sword and their body are trained together, you don't know where they're going to end up. And if they're a reactionary fighter, they do not care what you give them. And that's all part of something to get really deep down in your head, is that some of these excellent fighters, they're not standing there thinking about what you're doing. They don't care. You know, so if you think in your mind that, gee, I'm going to put this in his way by, they don't care. that you're going to put it there. And that's all part of the problem of trying to learn to fight the top 2%. In that fighting them from here is one thing. In that, go ahead and start moving, right? Is that I can swing at him and I can attack him. Go ahead and move the sword, right? And I'm going to go after him and press him. And ultimately, one of us is going to get ourselves into position, right? If we can lock up, then all of a sudden, somebody's dead. And that's why when you're watching the top 2% fight one another, you're like, what are they doing? Right? Because it is sort of like a swarm of snakes sometimes. Like there's all this movement, but it's not herky-jerky movement. Placing things in different spots. Right? Because they're testing, what can I get to? Right? And all of a sudden, the thrusts aren't really these big dramatic type things. There's something that came off an attack. And they've actually grabbed a hold of the shield, and it's really short and pretty. And the guy dies, and you're like, how'd they do that? And if you're not paying attention, it really does it really does sometimes look like the guy's just placing it on. Right? What you didn't see is that he retreated that rear foot, held onto the shield, and then went to a far target to get to him. And when you really get to learn to observe these fights, it's unreal how much you get to see that they're actually doing. All right. So we move on. The idea of there must be X number of returns, which there is, but the returns of this hand attached to this weapon are somewhat determined by what I'm going to do with these. Where am I going? What am I going to do? It's not just stand here and fight with Bob, right? And try and hit Bob again and again. It's like, I know right where Bob is. Okay? Even if you put your shield up, can you still shoot? Even if you're completely blind? You can, right? How many of you do? Oh, yeah, absolutely. Yeah, you bet. I love the way you do it. When you cover and you can't see them and there's still stuff coming out, it's like, that wakes them up and you can watch them and it's like, whoa! Whoa, I can't do that. He can't see me. Right. Just convince yourself of that. So, all of a sudden, His Grace attacks me, right? I throw my shield up and I'm swinging. And I don't really need to know now exactly where he is, but I can extend the fight and I'll get away. And now we're ready, and it's like, okay, how'd that happen? When most guys tie up, what happens? Stop. Right? And they try and grab one another. Well, now we're fighting. Now we're really fighting. It's like, you guys aren't fighting. It's like, now, what is this stalemate? My objective in a fight is to do what? No. My objective in the fight is to do the absolute best I can. That's my objective. Win, lose, or draw, I am going to fight to the best of my ability in that fight. Now, the best of my ability is not to walk up to Octa and do this. Right? It's not. The best of my ability is I'm going to give His Grace my absolute best fight that I can give him. And then afterwards, I'm going to ask him what he saw. Right? And ask him for, technique advice, because there's nobody to me anymore. Now, I don't consider myself to be the absolute essence of a fighter. I don't believe that of myself. So, more experienced fighters, left, right, round shields, center grips. I'm going to ask them, what do you see? Because their style is going to tell me different things. Left, right is going to tell me different things. Well, it seemed that you just, you were constantly pushing sword side. And I'm not sure what you were doing, but you weren't realizing that I was turning my body. Things like that. And that's, again, keeping a journal when you have an excellent fight with somebody, right? You still lost or you won. Journal what happened. If you come down from Canada for a weekend to fight His Grace, bring a journal. Show him you're a dedicated student. Because I guarantee if you fight for 2 days with His grace, and that's 8, 10, 12, however many hours, if you don't keep a journal, you're not going to remember what happened at hour 1 when you're at hour 12. You're really not. So, body movement.
Talk so much, a half an hour is hard to keep track of everything.
But that's the passion.
Yep.
Octa has the same
Write it
issue.
down.
Once we get going, and I watched you with your group of 3 yesterday, you were just pounding them with information. And they were digging it, but it was like, they're not the right way. I don't have a little tape recorder that will take 240 hours of information. Okay? Now,
The good instructors, after they've talked a long time, will usually go back to the key points that they want you to walk away with. And if they haven't given you any, maybe ask them, said, you told me a lot of stuff, give me one or two, what are the 2 most important things?
and that is incumbent upon you. Now, like in a class yesterday, like Miss Gray said, all day long, what was the point? I kept carrying that whiteboard around with me. That whiteboard even went outside. Carry the 5-on-5 away, right? Because just like what we're doing right now, 5-on-5 is going to determine and change what you can do wherever you put your foot based on where the target goes. Because I guarantee you, Octa's not going to stand there and let me do what I want. Neither is His grace. Okay, so all of a sudden the range changed from B and he steps in. Right? Now the range is at A. Right? Until I do this. Because I can fight on my other foot. Right? So now I'm going to change it to A. I'm going to push in on him. Right? And off he goes. Get it? Okay. So, when you're starting to figure out what can I do from here, and you start to reach, can you reach him? You bet. Boink, right? And all of a sudden you do a fade, right? And he comes down, and you thrust to his face, and you come back to here, right? All these different guards are meant to do something. And most people, especially beginners, they come up against a knight who's down here, and he's got that thrusting tip back so they can see it. They're feeling like they're attacking a porcupine, right? That it's loaded. They think they can see it. But a lot of them, when they go to attack somebody and they're standing up here, it's like, oh, this is easy. His entire side is open. There's a reason. So you have to reason that out. Plate, again, the percentages. Success against what percent of the populace, right? It's like, how does this work? So, body motion again. What we're going to do now, okay, is we're going to do a back and forth drill. So what I want you to do is do nothing but throw something offside with a step and retreat back to your ready position. I want you to pay particular attention to where that shield is when you're delivering it. Why? Because a lot of times you'll watch people throwing offside, and the first things that happen is this. The shield comes down. I have to get the shield out of the way. No. You don't. And you can prove that to yourself on a Pell all day long. Right? It's just not going to happen. And then with this one, a lot of times what you get is this. Shield ends up over here. Okay? Let's do 3 or 4 of those. Is once you come forward, where are my feet? Where's the center of my body? Right? It's like, that's not this. So I didn't actually throw that this way. I threw it this way. Okay? So those are all 3 indicators that you know when you end that shot. It's like, am I like this? Am I like this? Okay. Same sort of thing, even when you do the offside. Do I look like that? Right? When I did this, part of it is when you start doing this drill back and forth where it's continuous, you start feeling whether or not the shield is in the right position. Right? Where are things? And then what you can do is now you start throwing them on the diagonal. But are you leaning or are you going just on the diagonal? If you're like this, you're leaning. Right? Then you can start throwing them on the lateral. And notice we're only doing this with our right foot right now. And then what we're going to try and do is we're going to come back here. Now we're going to move this foot. So, this foot has this attachment, and our opponent is still in front of us. So, when I'm going to actually take a step, I still need to keep my shield to bear on that opponent. Right? So if you catch yourself doing the open closed door trick, something's wrong. And these are primary in that if your opponent's moving towards you, right, then I've learned that I don't necessarily have to shoot this way, that I can actually step over here and throw this. I can step over here and throw a snap wrap. I can step back and throw a snap wrap. Basically, I'm set to receive. I don't have to walk away. I don't have to back up because he's coming up. I'm actually ready to deal with this. So, those are the simple object lessons. Now, once you've moved your foot forward, you've thrown this, now you get to, yeah, it's like, where do I want to go next? Right? Okay, I'm going to rear up as he's coming towards me. I'm going to come down and go lateral. Right? Because now I've cleared his shield and I'm now cutting across the top angle of the shield that he is sure is in the right place. Because when I started the blow, they were right in front of me, so it looked to them like it was just going to be this. And then I took this step, and now all of a sudden it's over the top of the shield. Now I'm back, or now I go here. Now I'm going to retreat 2 steps, and I'm ready to go. I'm not going to back up, drop my shield, drop my sword. Okay. Now the other lovely thing that you do get to do with people that you know are into motion is they get to lead you around. Alright? And that's a drill. Follow me. Dancing. Give me the love. Right? So it's like, okay. So we address it that this is what I want you to do. He tells me what he wants me to do. And if he's going to stop or things like that, you know, then it's agreed upon what I can. I know I'm not going to jack him in the face, right? But I'm going to put the blade, put the point here, or whatever, to show him that I recognize what you're doing. He may move his shield more than he usually does, because again, it's a drill, right? Drills are simple, drills are safe. So but the idea of this is, once you get there, it's like, and he freezes, it's like, okay, how many returns are there? 1, 2, 3, and you just keep working, right? So you agree that there's going to be stops in it. How many returns are there? Shifting feet. Yeah, it takes a while. It really does. But it proves to the trainee that all of these things are possible if the opponent does exactly that. And you try again as the trainer to make the situation in the drill as common to combat. Not what he's going to do, not what he's going to do, but we're in that upper unbelted, right, lesser knight sort of fighting scenario with these common things. Okay. And then, of course, you, again, seek out the top 2% and go through the drill with them and then tell them, I want ground level combat situations. Now, the thing with that is that, again, with Thorfinn, if we're in crown, he's probably not going to let me get right here without really doing something. You know, look at the back of that, right? So you have to understand when you ask for that ground level situation, that if you do something like this, you're in trouble. And then you get to I lean behind. So then you go through it again to make sure that you don't lean. And he may give you 3 or 4 opportunities to do nothing but not lean. Right? So as long as you're successful in doing nothing but not doing this, not doing that, not doing this, not doing that, His Grace will consider the drill a success on your part. And He reports that to you, and away you go. Okay? Questions so far?
Oh, I love that. I want to incorporate that on Monday.
Okay.
We never did the whole stop part. And then okay, what returns can you give from it?
Exactly. And this is where the training from my school starts to expand, because no matter what the is, it should be capable of dealing with a student who's a beginner to His Grace. That's the way I look at it. Maybe the speeds vary. Maybe I change weapons forms on His Grace and I fight two-stick, or I fight greatsword, or whatever. Now, am I going to do that with a beginner? No, no. I don't want a beginner to have to try and figure out all in one day how to fight sword, shield, greatsword, blade, Florentine. It's like, no. But when we get to the motivators, yeah, we start doing it. Start doing oblique attacks, dropping the shield to see if they'll go for it, right? Because it incorporates the trigger drill. Okay? How fast will they trigger on a defense? So he does this and I do this to open it up. If he doesn't come in here, I'm going to try and go inside real quick. But the timing is a lot faster than I would do it with Dave. Where I might give Dave 3 clicks to do it, I'm only going to give him 1, because I know his ability. The primary thing about training versus practice, and especially in a drill like this, once again, is proving the object lesson to yourself. Does it work for me? And if it doesn't work for me right now, how do I get it? Once again, if you know for a fact that you're walking out and all your fights are just like this with Bob and Steve, and you know, and it's kind of like the shields are down and everybody's still trying to pound one another, but even though the shields are down, you still can't hit one another, then something's wrong. If you're constantly in and up, squared off, right? And usually what the telling part of this is that practices, you're halfway through practice and you're pooped. Right? You've used up so much energy in your fights that you're pooped. And you ask yourself, gee, if I was competing in Crown, and Crown is like, how many rounds? Rounds here? 12 to 16 rounds. And I've actually only had 5 fights with Bob, Steve, and Jim. And they have worn me down, and it took an hour to fight those 5 fights. Something's really wrong. Something's not right. Now, again, His Grace fighting Sven, maybe those fights do take a little bit longer, right? Because they're both fighting against everything. And they're going to do style on it. I can't give this up. So I'm going to do something different. When your fights are taking that long, you really find out. And that's one of the things that I've noticed is most common about people going to practice. For some reason, it's like the learning part goes away because of practice. But isn't that what practice is for? Practice is proof of your training. Practice is also proof of what you're capable of in combat, based on the different levels of opponents. Which is the other thing about practice, right? Just like if Duke so-and-so shows up, Sir such-and-such shows up, and they're from out of your area, oh yeah. Make sure you get to spend time with them and ask